Out of Red Bull and possibly straight into Ferrari, Adrian Newey's uncertain future is already having a massive impact in F1. Ferrari is understood to be working hard to secure Newey's services for when the outgoing Red Bull technical chief becomes available in early 2025, although it isn't the only team interested. Aided by his close friend and manager Eddie Jordan, Newey has secured an early Red Bull exit that would allow him to join another team in the first few months of next year. That's massive, given he could have been left unable to work for another team until the start of 2027, already 12 months into a new set of technical regulations, something Newey has been so effective at exploiting. Newey does need to decide whether he wants to stay in F1 as part of the new challenges he says he seeks, but it's widely understood in the F1 paddock that he wouldn't have tried to negotiate so hard for an early exit if he didn't have some kind of next move in mind. First, he's seeing off the Red Bull RB17 hypercar project, probably going to travel with his wife for a bit, and then is widely expected to get back down to business. Unsurprisingly, Newey's newfound free agency is already causing a frenzied reaction. Newey's status inevitably means several teams covet his services, and the first and most obvious consequence is that Ferrari is widely believed to be by far the most appealing move. No deal has been done, but Newey reportedly met with Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur in London in the week before the Miami Grand Prix. And extremely well-placed sources are convinced that Ferrari will win him over by basically offering a pot of gold and a freewheeling role that lets him get as involved as much as he wants. Ferrari won't confirm or deny this, and Vasseur's only comment is basically that he has nothing to say, because I know you'll be able to write pages on the 2 words that I could say. Maybe Fred should be more worried about us hanging a YouTube video off it, because whether Ferrari comments officially or not, we understand it is pushing to make this happen. If Newey were to join Ferrari at his first availability, Ferrari will already be well advanced with its 2026 car, but not so far that Newey couldn't use his insight and knowledge to influence the final design. He has so often set the team he works for off in a different direction to the others that has then become the widely copied blueprint. The 1998 McLaren, the 2009 Red Bull, and the 2022 Red Bull are prime examples. The 2026 car and engine regulations offer a clear opportunity for a repeat. Ferrari would dearly love to be the team to cash in on that, which is why its pursuit of Newey is F1's biggest live story. Before we continue along the Ferrari theme, Newey's impending exit has shocked many in the F1 paddock and beyond, and sparked a lot of conversations about whether this is part of the Red Bull empire crumbling. McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown said he thought more dominoes would fall after Newey, and claimed his team's receiving many CVs from Red Bull's employees, something his Red Bull counterpart Christian Horner really didn't appreciate. Over the Miami weekend, it emerged that one of Red Bull's senior trackside figures, Jonathan Wheatley, is considering his future. Wheatley could depart, but as contract negotiations are ongoing, he could also end up staying. There is speculation he covets a team principal role, which we understand Red Bull wouldn't stand in the way of him pursuing elsewhere. The big focus though is Red Bull's technical team, and whether the combination of Newey leaving and the incoming 2026 car overhaul could knock it off its perch. Newey first helped turn Red Bull into a dominant force from 2010 to 2013 as technical director, then made a further contribution to its current era of success in a global chief technical officer role. But there has been a strong, if often implicit, indication that Red Bull itself isn't concerned by Newey's departure because his influence had been diluted over time, with some in the team even of the opinion that Newey had no real input into the 2024 car. The change in Newey's role years ago moved him from day-to-day technical leadership into a super consultant kind of position, informing and leading specific parts of car design and development as he saw fit. Senior figures we've spoken to have made Red Bull's position clear. The technical team is rock solid, nobody wants to leave, technical director Pierre Vacher is locked in for several years with a new contract, and head of aerodynamics Enrico Balbo is also committed. There's also another element, which is that unofficially there's relief Newey is leaving because it puts the focus on the official technical organisation. Effectively shrugging off Newey's departure as no great loss is a brave position for Red Bull to take given his track record, but it is at least consistent because even one of the Red Bull parent company's chief executives, Oliver Mintzlaff, has reinforced it. In a rare interview, Mintzlaff said Newey leaving is a shame, but that tomorrow we will still know how to build a quick Formula 1 car, and pointed to Red Bull's past record of handling regulation changes as proof of that. Mintzlaff's not been around F1 for that long though, so what he might not know is that the one time Red Bull did drop the ball with a new set of rules in 2017, Newey wasn't that involved in the car and needed to step in to fix things. So, back to Ferrari. The F1 paddock's getting carried away with excitement at the prospect of a new super team. And even senior Red Bull figures have privately told us that if Vasseur stays on top of Ferrari's infamous politics, that project is looking like a serious threat. Newey would be a massive addition to a team that has gained serious momentum over the past 12 months. Vasseur's been extensively backed by Ferrari chairman John Elkann since being appointed Ferrari team boss ahead of the 2023 season as Mattia Binotto's successor. Ferrari's already lured Lewis Hamilton from Mercedes in a blockbuster driver swoop and got Charles Leclerc to commit to a new long-term deal. Tempting Newey would be a massive technical coup on top of other moves such as signing Mercedes performance director Loic Serra, which has never been made official but is something Vasseur kind of alluded to in Miami. It was telling at the last race that Hamilton and Leclerc didn't even try to hide their delight at the prospect of Newey moving to Ferrari. In such scenarios, the common response is to not say anything that might engage in the speculation, but Hamilton put Newey at the top of the list of people he'd like to work with and said it would be a privilege, while Leclerc said adding Newey would be amazing. Ferrari's off-track momentum combined with clear performance improvements have dispelled any concerns that Vasseur's Ferrari would be undermined by the behind-the-scenes nonsense that never seems far away at Maranello. Vasseur's been credited with making good day-to-day improvements while also feeding into the bigger picture strategic decisions that Elkann provides the firepower to execute. The upshot is that the prospect of Hamilton and Leclerc teaming up long-term and driving a Newey-influenced 2026 Ferrari, which would all have seemed utterly outlandish not that long ago, now looks like a serious proposition. While Ferrari is the hot favourite to land Newey, if anyone does, another more left-field part of the fallout is the prospect of a Williams reunion. Williams team boss James Vowles says he's had a tentative initial conversation with Newey, and though this doesn't seem to amount to a full-scale pitch or negotiation, the idea has at least been planted. On paper, choosing between Ferrari and Williams would seem as obvious to Newey as it would any driver or senior team figure. One looks like Red Bull's closest rival, is still winning races, has immense facilities and the potential to offer some exciting automotive opportunities. The other is a back-of-the-grid team that Vowles himself has said is 20 years behind rivals in some key areas. The value of Newey getting sight of Williams' facilities and its working practices could be immeasurable in terms of getting Dorilton investments over the line at Williams, identifying the best areas to spend that money, getting people to buy into new practices and changing the way Williams approaches car concept and development. If anything, Williams would have far more to gain from Newey in these areas than a team like Ferrari. Therein lies one element of a Williams reunion being appealing: the challenge. His Red Bull switch in the first place showed Newey can be motivated by such tasks, and while he is some 20 years older now, if revitalised by time off, Newey may come to like the prospect of helping revive the team he won his first races and titles with. That's an emotional angle to rival the romantic notion of joining Ferrari. The case would also no doubt be stronger if Williams were able to finally offer Newey some team equity to sweeten the deal. Almost 30 years after failing to do so is what drove him away in the first place. But perhaps the strongest argument is one Vowles laid out. Preaching the value of the team's family DNA, the racing focus and the absence of the politics that have clearly played a part in Newey's enthusiasm waning at Red Bull, Vowles made it clear that he believes Williams is the kind of place Newey could enjoy working again. That's important, given Newey says that he's fortunate to be able to choose to work because he likes it, not because he needs to. But it's still a massive long shot, not least because Newey isn't thought to be keen on going back anywhere that he's worked already. Earlier this year, Verstappen said he'd consider his own future if close ally Helmut Marko, Red Bull's motorsport advisor, left amid tensions between team leaders, and he stressed it was important that all the team's key pillars were kept. When Newey's Red Bull exit was confirmed, Max's father Jos used it as a chance to revive his own concerns about Red Bull's future under Horner's leadership and sow fresh seeds of doubt about Max's future. But asked in Miami if Newey's situation impacts his own, Max said not at the moment. Verstappen admitted he would have preferred Newey to stay and that there will never be another Adrian, but also said that it's not the very dramatic development it looks like from the outside. That aligns with our understanding that Verstappen is in the Red Bull Vacher camp and believes in the wider technical organisation, not just in Newey Gold Dust, and Red Bull is absolutely adamant that Verstappen's got no intention to leave. So why is Jos out there still causing trouble? Well, there's a complicated story playing out. Verstappen's been publicly courted by Mercedes boss Toto Wolff, which has coincided with Verstappen's father Jos making his various remarks against Horner and warning that Red Bull risks falling apart. But Red Bull's backing Horner, who is going nowhere and not even entertaining the prospect of walking away. It's widely understood in F1 that Jos wants his son to seriously consider leaving Red Bull to move to Mercedes instead. Max hasn't emphatically ruled out such a move, but he's also not shared his father's apparent enthusiasm for the idea either. at least not for 2025. So there's potentially a divide emerging as Jos pushes for one thing and Max remains relaxed in the short term. Jos won't and can't force his son to move, so it comes down to what the younger Verstappen desires. In the short term, that's expected to be Red Bull, including for 2025, but it's 2026 and the new rules, including Red Bull having to build its own engine for the first time, that attention is turning to in this narrative. We understand Marco's willing to leave Red Bull to trigger a clause that allows Verstappen to escape his contract early if that's what Max decides he wants. The world champion's decision will be determined by performance, not external interference or money, because Verstappen's got simple competitive motivations. Right now, those are satisfied by Red Bull, and he might not be too concerned about Newey's exit, but that doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of wider disquiet around Red Bull that Verstappen has been unhappy with, and there could easily be other moments of turmoil on the horizon.